Good morning, my beautiful daughter-in-law. I want to begin to thank God for you this morning and just let you know that you are a blessing to my life. I thank God that you have stepped into the balance and that you provide all of the necessary things that my wonderful son needs. You're loving, you're kind, you're patient, you're gentle. You are the best daughter-in-law I've ever seen in the love zone for my son. You are also a great mother for the care and the caregiving of my grandchildren. I am so grateful. In my ignorance, could have never chosen such a wonderful gift. But I am so glad that my son has had the wisdom and the knowledge through watching my life and making the decision to choose the best of his life, which has been you. May God bless you today. May God encourage you. May God continue to shine his grace upon you and strengthen you in the areas where resistance seems sometimes to come in to pull you away from accomplishing and achieving the things that you see for your family and that you see for yourself. It is certainly an honor, and I just pray against all of the actions and the arguments that come in the form of resistance when it comes with your relationship with my son and with your children, that God would give you insight and spiritual understanding on how to comply and when to follow through and how to follow through and how to get along with the love component of your marriage and the oversight of your children. If you have the chance today, my darling, I would love for you to read Ezra chapter 4, 1 through 5. And it talks about the resistance and how to build the temple. You know, when you're building your life, my daughter, and when you're building opportunities for your children, there will always be two factors that come along. The first factor is that people will always come on the sidebar, meaning they will always come to give you directions on what you need to do and how you need to do it while you're building your house. But they're not in your house, so you have to be skeptic about what kind of a guidance comes into your ear. The voice of the Lord is the only voice that I should encourage you to listen to, because he will always tell you to do things in tender mercy, kindness, gentleness, love, even though the forces of resistance may come from my son sometime to conflict with what you see is best and you know is best, but sometimes by order of submission unto your spouse, you find that resistant factor basically squashes you down, or it limits your voice from rising up. But there is a place called prayer where you can go to and talk to God about it, and God will cut those chains and cut those cords that are the pulling factors in your life that frustrates you and leave you in a place of discouragement and the lack thereof. So I pray against that. Number two, there's another factor that comes in the resistance in the building of your family. And it is just three things: discouragement when you're troubled and when you're frustrated. Discouragement will come to stop you from moving forward. It will discourage you from achieving greatness in your life and for your marriage and for your children. It will discourage you to go back to the old way of thinking, the old way of doing things, the old way of life. Discouragement will come in such a way to oppress you, depress you, and leave you weighted down and immobilize you, meaning that you will not have the energy, or the effort will be effortless, meaning that you do not want to go and do things. And we have to, as women, also be aware of those discouragement factors that come. And then another thing that comes along when God is building your family and when God is building you as a person is that you begin to be troubled on every side, meaning your thought pattern is just not centered. It is bothersome. It's painful, and you really don't know why. It's because of resistance. It comes when people want to stop God's progress in their life, and then God stops the people agenda, meaning that we have our own agenda that's contrary to God. I know right now the factor is husband and children and the future of sustaining that, a house component. Guess what? You're right in the right place and you're centered. But the other element that we add to that is God, because when God is in the mix, he helps relieve some of those troubled areas and the finances. When the kids begin to rise up and be disobedient, when the husband doesn't understand who you are, what you want, what your needs are, and you're frustrated, comes in that process. There is a purpose to a covenant relationship, that is the holistic capacity of God is released, meaning that everything working together for the embetterment of Christ reflection on your marriage. That means when people look at your marriage, and they look at you and they say, oh, she's a good girl. Oh, her marriage is great. Oh, her children are just so well mannered. That's because, why, my dear daughter-in-law? Because you've done all the necessary work. You didn't let discouragement get you, and trouble didn't overtake you. The pains and frustrating, meaning you want to do it your way and you couldn't achieve it. You were courageous and skillful and tactful in the way you did that. So, my dear daughter-in-law, I just want to encourage you this morning and end by saying you are the greatest gift next to the husband and next to the kids. You are the greatest gift in my life. So I thank God for you, and may you have a very blessed